"Please, don't hurt us." 9-year-old Lily screamed, her little arms wrapped tightly around her baby brother as tears poured down her face. Her stepmother's hand hovered in the air, ready to strike. But before it could fall, Ethan Miller walked in. What happened next was shocking. Hello, family. Welcome to our story. Before we dive into this story, click that subscribe button, like this video, and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Ethan Miller sat behind a mahogany desk on the top floor of Miller & Company Tower, the tallest building in the city skyline. His office overlooked endless rows of glittering lights, but none of it brought him peace. At 42, he had everything men bragged about: wealth, power, and influence. The tailored navy blue suit across his broad shoulders, the gleaming Rolex hugging his wrist, the expensive pen scratching against contracts, all of it screamed success. But behind those sharp blue eyes lay an emptiness that no amount of money could fill. Years ago, Ethan had been a different man. Back then, laughter filled his home. His first wife, Amelia, was a woman of warmth and grace, the anchor of their little family. She gave him Lily, a girl full of light who loved running barefoot in the garden, and later, baby Noah, who had just turned 1. But tragedy struck like a thief in the night. Amelia grew weak after Noah's birth, and the doctors tried everything, but within weeks she was gone. Ethan had held her hand in the hospital bed as her last breath slipped away, and with it, his world collapsed. He buried himself in work, escaping his grief inside conference rooms and business trips, while his children were left with caretakers and silence. Lily was only 5 then, too young to understand why Daddy no longer came home early, too young to bear the weight of missing her mother alone. It was during this storm that Claire entered his life. A white woman in her late 30s, Claire had been Amelia's close friend. At first, she seemed like an angel stepping in at the right time, elegant, graceful, always with a soothing smile. She comforted Ethan in his lowest moments, whispered that he didn't need to raise the children alone, and promised to love them as her own. Ethan, blinded by loneliness, believed her. He remarried, convinced that he had found a new beginning for his broken family. For a while, everything looked perfect on the surface. Claire greeted Ethan with soft kisses when he came home, kept the house spotless, and dressed the children neatly whenever guests visited. To outsiders, they looked like a family rebuilt, a picture of resilience after tragedy, but beneath the surface, shadows lingered. Ethan didn't notice at first. He was always on the move: meetings in New York, conferences in London, mergers in Dubai. Whenever guilt pricked at his heart, Claire would reassure him. "Go, Ethan. Focus on work. I'll take care of Lily and Noah." And he let himself believe it. But that evening was different. After weeks abroad, negotiating a multi-million-dollar deal, Ethan closed his final file earlier than expected. He leaned back in his leather chair, staring at his reflection in the office window. His once strong features looked older, heavier. His eyes were tired. A sudden longing gripped him. He thought of Lily's sweet voice, of how Noah must have grown since he last held him. For the first time in months, Ethan felt the urge to go home, not for duty, but for love. Without telling his assistant, he grabbed his coat, descended to the parking lot, and slid behind the wheel of his sleek black Mercedes. The city blurred past as he drove toward the suburbs, toward the mansion he had built for Amelia, the home that now felt like a museum of memories. Tonight, though, something stirred in his chest. A flicker of warmth, of hope, that maybe he could reconnect with his children. The iron gates creaked open, and the mansion loomed ahead. Golden light spilled from the windows across the marble driveway. Ethan parked and stepped inside, his polished shoes echoing against the floor. The house smelled faintly of roses, but it was eerily quiet. He set his briefcase on the console table, hung his coat neatly, and paused. In the silence, a faint sound pricked his ears. A whimper, then a baby's cry. "Noah." Ethan froze, his heartbeat quickening. Another sound followed, the small, trembling voice of Lily. "Please, don't hurt us. Please don't hurt my brother." Ethan's chest tightened. The voice carried terror. not childish whining. He moved down the hallway, every step heavier than the last. The cries grew louder as he neared the living room. He stopped just outside the doorway, his tall frame hidden in the shadows. His breath caught in his throat at the scene unfolding before him. Lily knelt on the floor, her curly hair tangled, her pink dress torn at the sleeve. Tears streaked her cheeks as she held baby Noah tightly against her chest. The infant's face was red from crying, his little fists clenched in distress. Lily shielded him with her small body, trembling as she whispered, "Don't hurt us, please." Across from them stood Claire. The woman who had once seemed angelic now looked monstrous. Her pristine white blouse and pearl earrings clashed with the twisted expression on her face. Her hand clutched a baby bottle like a weapon, raised midair as if to strike. Her voice, once sweet, was sharp and venomous. "How many times do I have to tell you, Lily? Stop crying like a baby! You're nothing but trouble!" Ethan's stomach lurched. His eyes widened in disbelief. Was this the same woman he had trusted with his children? His hands curled into fists as rage flooded through him. He had come home longing for laughter. Instead, he found his children cowering in fear of the woman he called his wife. The mask had slipped, and Ethan Miller was about to learn the truth hidden inside his own home. Ethan steps into the room, his voice thunderous. "Enough!" Claire freezes, her hands still raised, as Lily gasps and looks up at her father with wide, tear-filled eyes. "Enough!" Ethan's voice thundered across the room, bouncing off the high ceilings like a crack of lightning. Claire froze mid-motion, the bottle still raised in her hand. Lily's tear-streaked face whipped upward, her little chest rising and falling in panicked gasps. For a moment, the room was silent. So silent that Noah's desperate whimpers seemed to echo like a siren. Ethan stepped into the living room, his polished shoes thudding hard against the wooden floor. He looked like a storm in human form, towering, furious, every muscle tight with rage. His eyes, once clouded with grief and denial, now burned with clarity. "Put that bottle down," Ethan growled. Claire blinked, then let out a soft laugh so sudden it was jarring. She lowered the bottle slowly, placing it on the coffee table as if nothing had happened. Then she straightened her pearl necklace, her lips curling into a practiced smile. "Oh, Ethan," she cooed, her voice dripping sugar. "You startled me. I didn't hear you come in. You should have told me you'd be home so early." "Don't play games with me," Ethan snapped. His gaze cut straight to Lily. Her torn dress, her swollen eyes, the way she clutched Noah like her life depended on it. It all screamed of suffering. Ethan's chest tightened with guilt. How blind had he been? Claire tilted her head, her blonde curls bouncing slightly as she moved toward him. Her smile never wavered. "Darling, you've misunderstood." Lily was being dramatic again. You know how children exaggerate when they don't get their way. She threw a tantrum, that's all. "Is that what you call this?" Ethan's voice cracked like a whip as he pointed at Lily's trembling form. "A tantrum?" Claire's smile flickered. For the briefest second, her icy blue eyes hardened with something venomous before softening again. She reached for Ethan's sleeve with delicate fingers. "Ethan, sweetheart, you're tired. You've been gone for weeks. Traveling takes such a toll on you. Let me explain everything." "No." Ethan pulled his arm back, his jaw tight. He crouched down, ignoring his expensive suit, brushing the floor, and reached for Noah. His hands trembled as he lifted his son for the first time in months. Noah's little body felt far too light, fragile, as if he hadn't been fed enough. Ethan's throat constricted. Then he saw it. Faint red marks, finger-shaped, circling the baby's tiny arm. His blood went cold. "What is this?" His voice shook, rising with each word. "Claire, what is this?" Claire blinked innocently, her hand resting against her chest. "Oh, that? Baby's bruised so easily. He wriggles when I hold him. Sometimes I have to grip tightly so he doesn't slip. The doctor even said it's normal for marks to appear. You're overreacting." "Overreacting?" Ethan's voice was sharp enough to cut glass. He looked back at Noah's innocent face, then at Lily, whose lips trembled as though words were fighting to escape, but fear kept them locked inside. Ethan turned to his daughter. "Lily," he said softly, his fury dimming into something gentler, protective. "Sweetheart, tell me the truth. What happened to your dress? Why are you crying like this?" Lily's eyes darted nervously to Claire. Her small hands gripped the hem of her dress, twisting the fabric. I. Her voice broke. The words lodged in her throat. Tears welled again, rolling down her cheeks. Claire swooped in, her voice smooth, almost mocking. "See? She's too tired to speak clearly." She was climbing trees outside, ripped her dress, and worked herself into a fit. "I warned her not to, but children never listen. Isn't that right, Lily?" Ethan's eyes narrowed. He studied the tear in the dress. It wasn't from climbing. It was jagged, as if someone had yanked hard. His stomach churned with fury. Before he could respond, a quiet cough came from the doorway. Ethan turned to see Mrs. Rosa, the family's long-time housekeeper, standing there with a laundry basket clutched to her chest. Her eyes shifted nervously between Ethan, Claire, and the children. "Mr. Miller?" Rosa said softly. I didn't know you'd be home early." Claire's smile sharpened. "Yes, Rosa, isn't it wonderful? Mr. Miller surprised us all." She let out a light laugh, though her eyes warned Rosa silently. "Why don't you take those clothes to the laundry room?" "We'll manage here." Rosa hesitated. Her gaze lingered on Lily and Noah, her lips parting slightly as if she wanted to speak. But then her shoulders sagged, and she nodded quickly, disappearing down the hall. Ethan's gut twisted. He saw it. Fear. Rosa knew something. He was sure of it. He turned back to Claire. "You've got one chance. Stop lying to me. What have you been doing to my children?" Claire's mask cracked. Her smile dropped for an instant, replaced by a glare so sharp it could cut steel. "How dare you accuse me?" she hissed before quickly smoothing her expression again. "Ethan, darling, you're letting your grief cloud your judgment. I've been raising these children like they were my own. Do you think I'd ever hurt them?" "Would you?" Ethan's voice boomed, the fire in him unstoppable now. He stepped closer, Noah cradled against his chest, Lily clinging to his leg. "Because, from where I'm standing, all I see is fear in my daughter's eyes, and marks on my son's arms. Tell me, Claire, why are they afraid of you?" Claire faltered. For the first time, her words didn't come easily. Her eyes darted to Lily, to Noah, then back to Ethan. Finally, she forced a chuckle, though it sounded hollow. "Children are dramatic. They twist things. You're believing them over me, after everything I've done for this family?" Ethan's fury burned hotter. For months, he had drowned himself in work, convincing himself that Claire was taking care of things. But now the veil was lifting, and the truth was uglier than he could have imagined. He bent down, scooping Lily into his free arm. Both children clung to him like lifelines. For the first time since Amelia's death, Ethan truly felt like a father again, not absent, not blind, but present and alive with purpose. "You're right about one thing," Ethan said coldly, his voice steady like a blade. "I've been blind, but not anymore. I see everything now." Claire's eyes flashed with fury before her smile snapped back in place. "You'll regret this," she whispered, stepping closer, her breath hot with venom. "You think you know everything, but you don't. Without me, this house will fall apart. Those children will break you, and you'll come crawling back." "Never," Ethan spat. His grip tightened protectively around Lily and Noah. "I'll protect my children if it's the last thing I do." The air in the room crackled with tension. Claire's mask was slipping faster now, her sweet act unraveling with every second, and Ethan knew this was only the beginning. As Claire stormed off, her heels clacking against the marble, Ethan turned to find Rosa standing in the shadows again. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. She whispered shakily, "Mr. Miller, there's something you need to know." Ethan, still clutching both Lily and Noah tightly against his chest, turned sharply. His eyes locked on the old woman who had served his family faithfully for more than a decade. Rosa's face was pale, her lips pressed together like she had been holding back a dam of secrets for far too long. Claire spun on her heel, her heels clicking like daggers against the floor. "Rosa!" Her voice cracked like a whip. "That's enough! Go back to your duties and keep your mouth shut." But Rosa didn't move. For the first time, her eyes didn't drop in fear. She looked at Ethan directly, her voice low but firm. "Sir, you need to hear this. You deserve to know the truth about what happens when you're not here." Ethan's heart thudded in his chest. Every muscle in his body tensed. He could feel Lily shiver against him, could feel Noah's tiny hand gripping his suit. His voice came out rough, heavy with restrained rage. "Rosa, talk, tell me everything." Claire lunged forward, her face twisted with fury. "Don't you dare!" "Silence!" Ethan's roar shook the room, his hand shooting up like a command. Claire froze, her mouth hanging open, her eyes flashing with hatred. Ethan's gaze bore into Rosa. "Say it, right now." Rosa swallowed hard, her wrinkled hands shaking around the hem of her apron. And then the words spilled out, each one a knife to Ethan's heart. "She starves them, Mr. Miller," Rosa whispered, her voice cracking with emotion. "She feeds them scraps, sometimes nothing at all. Little Lily begs me for bread in the kitchen. And when I sneak her food, Claire threatens to fire me, or worse." Ethan felt his jaw tighten. He looked at his daughter, her thin arms, the hollows under her eyes, and the guilt hit him like a tidal wave. Rosa's voice grew stronger. "And baby Noah, she ignores his cries. She says he's spoiled. She lets him scream for hours until he passes out from exhaustion. She barely gives him milk, sir. Look at him. He's far too light for a 1-year-old. No, God," Ethan muttered, his stomach churning. He held Noah tighter, tears burning at the back of his eyes. "And it gets worse," Rosa continued, her voice shaking now with anger. "She locks Lily in her room as punishment, sometimes for hours, sometimes all day. Last week, Lily spilled a drop of juice. Claire forced her to scrub the entire kitchen floor with just a rag, on her knees, until they bled. And when Lily cried, Rosa's voice broke. She covered her mouth, fighting back sobs. "She hit her, hard. Liar!" Claire shrieked, her sweet mask gone, replaced by raw venom. Her hands balled into fists, her face red with rage. "You old hag! You're just bitter because you're nothing but a servant in this house. You've always been jealous of me." Rosa didn't flinch. For the first time, she raised her chin high and pulled something from her apron pocket. A phone. With trembling fingers, she unlocked it and held it out. "I was afraid no one would believe me, so I took pictures. Look." Ethan's blood froze. He set Lily gently on the couch, still holding Noah with one arm, and reached for the phone. His hand shook as he scrolled through the images. Photos of Lily's bruised knees, raw and red from hours on the cold floor. Photos of Noah lying in his crib, face gaunt, little ribs showing. Photos of Lily's bedroom door locked shut from the outside. And worst of all, photos of his daughter's tear-streaked face, her eyes wide with terror. Ethan's vision blurred. His hands clenched around the phone so tightly his knuckles went white. A low growl escaped his throat, more animal than human. "Claire." His voice was low, deadly calm. "You will never touch my children again." Claire's laughter rang out, high and mocking. "You fool! Do you think anyone will believe that old woman over me? I am your wife. I am the woman who saved this family when you couldn't handle it. You've been absent, Ethan. You buried yourself in work while I raised these brats. If anyone is unfit here, it's you." Her words struck like daggers, but Ethan stood tall. For months, maybe years, guilt had shackled him. But now, holding his fragile son and staring at his broken daughter, something inside him ignited. He was no longer the grieving widower who let life pass him by. He was a father, and fathers protect. "You're finished here," Ethan said coldly, his voice like steel. Claire's smile faltered for the first time. "You wouldn't dare." "Try me," Ethan spat. He turned to Rosa, his eyes burning with determination. "Thank you. You were braver than I was. You may have saved my children's lives." Rosa's eyes filled with tears. She bowed her head. "I had to try, sir. I couldn't stand by any longer." Claire stormed forward, but Ethan's glare stopped her dead in her tracks. "If you touch them again, Claire, I swear you will regret it." For the first time, Claire's mask shattered completely. Her face contorted with rage. "You think you can throw me out and keep your precious little family? I'll destroy you, Ethan. I'll go to the courts. I'll say you neglected them. I'll take everything you own. You're nothing without me." Ethan's lips curved into a grim smile. "Then you'd better prepare yourself, because I have something you'll never have." Claire sneered. "Oh, and what's that?" Ethan lifted Rosa's phone, the photos glowing on the screen. His voice was steady, fierce. "The truth." The air seemed to freeze. Claire's breath caught in her throat, her eyes darting to the evidence that could ruin her. She backed up a step, her bravado slipping. But Ethan didn't move toward her. Instead, he turned his back on her completely, cradling his children protectively in his arms. For the first time in years, he knew his purpose. He walked to Rosa, lowering his voice. "Take Lily and Noah to your room tonight. Don't let them out of your sight." Rosa nodded firmly, her spine straight with newfound courage. "I'll keep them safe, Mr. Miller. You have my word." As Rosa led Lily by the hand and carried Noah's bag upstairs, Ethan stood alone in the living room with Claire. She glared at him, trembling with fury, her nails digging into her palms. "This isn't over," she hissed. Ethan's eyes blazed. "You're right," he said, his voice like a hammer. "It's only just beginning. Tomorrow, I'm calling Daniel Cole. And when I'm done with you, Claire, you'll never set foot near my children again." Claire's lips curled into a poisonous smile, her eyes gleaming with malice. "Oh, Ethan, you've just declared war." The night stretched on like a storm with no end. Ethan didn't sleep. He sat in his study, the weight of Rosa's photos burning in his mind, the sound of Lily's trembling voice echoing in his ears. Every tick of the grandfather clock was a reminder. He had wasted months in ignorance while his children suffered, but that ended now. At dawn, he picked up his phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in years. "Daniel Cole, attorney at law," came the brisk voice on the other end. "Daniel, it's Ethan Miller. I need you. It's about my children." There was silence, then a steady reply. "Tell me everything." Ethan did. Every bruise, every scream, every picture. By the time he finished, Daniel's tone was sharp. "Bring the kids and Rosa to my office today. We'll file for an emergency protection order. And Ethan, brace yourself. She will fight back." By afternoon, Ethan was seated in Daniel's office, Lily pressed against his side, Noah in Rosa's arms. Daniel examined the photos with a hard jaw, flipping through each image like a soldier scanning battle plans. "This is enough," Daniel finally said. "We'll take this to court immediately. The judge won't ignore evidence like this." "But Claire," Ethan muttered, his chest burned with anger. "She's cunning. She'll twist everything. She'll play the victim." Daniel leaned forward, eyes locked on his client. "Let her try. You have the truth. You have witnesses. And now, you have me." The court hearing was set within days. When the morning came, the city courthouse buzzed with tension. Reporters lingered on the steps, sniffing for drama. Inside, the air felt electric. Ethan walked in wearing a dark suit, his jaw set, Lily holding his hand tightly. Rosa walked beside him, Noah resting against her shoulder. Across the aisle sat Claire. She was dressed in white like an angel, pearls glinting under the courtroom lights, her face painted with innocence. But her eyes, cold, calculating, locked on Ethan with a look that screamed war. The judge entered, gavel striking. "This court is in session." Daniel rose first. "Your Honor, we are here to protect two innocent children from abuse at the hands of their stepmother. We present photographic evidence, witness testimony, and medical reports proving neglect and physical harm. Gasps rippled through the gallery as Daniel held up enlarged photos. Lily's bruised knees, Noah's thin frame, the locked bedroom door. The judge's eyes darkened. Then Claire's lawyer stood, a man slick as oil. "Your Honor, these accusations are fabrications, fueled by guilt and manipulation. My client has cared for these children tirelessly, while their father traveled the world chasing money. She is being painted as a monster when in truth, she is the only stable parent figure they've had." Claire dabbed her eyes with a tissue, fake tears glistening. "I love those children," she whispered loudly enough for the gallery to hear. "I've given them everything." Ethan's fists clenched, but Daniel motioned for patience. "We'll let the truth speak," he murmured. The first witness was Rosa. She walked to the stand with trembling hands but fire in her eyes. "I worked in that house for years. I watched Mrs. Claire deny those children food, lock Lily in her room for hours, and ignore Noah's cries. I took these pictures because I knew one day the truth had to come out." Claire's lawyer sneered. "You expect us to believe a servant over a wife?" Rosa lifted her chin. "I expect you to believe the bruises on those babies' bodies." The judge nodded gravely. "Continue." Then came the moment that froze the room. Daniel called Lily to the stand. Ethan's breath caught. His little girl looked so small walking up there, her pink dress hanging loosely on her thin frame. She glanced nervously at her father, and he nodded reassuringly. The judge leaned down kindly. "Sweetheart, do you know why you're here today?" Lily's voice was barely a whisper. "To tell the truth." Daniel spoke gently. "Lily, can you tell the court what happens when your daddy is away?" The gallery leaned in. Claire shifted in her seat, eyes narrowing. Lily took a shaky breath, her voice quivering but brave. She doesn't like us. She says we make too much noise. She locks me in my room. She doesn't give Noah food sometimes. When I spill things, she hits me. She says if I tell Daddy, she'll throw us away." Gasps exploded around the courtroom. Claire's face drained of color. Ethan buried his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking. His little girl, his brave Lily, had just shattered the lies. Claire's lawyer jumped up. "Objection. She's just a child. Children exaggerate." The judge slammed his gavel. Overruled. The court will not silence a child in her own defense. By the time closing arguments came, the room was heavy with tension. Daniel stood tall. "Your Honor, this is not about wealth or image. This is about two innocent children who lived in fear under the roof of a woman who was supposed to protect them. We ask this court to strip Claire Miller of custody and ensure she never harms these children again." Claire's lawyer scrambled, but the damage was done. The evidence was overwhelming. The testimony pierced every lie. The judge's voice boomed through the chamber. For the charges of child abuse and neglect, this court finds Claire Miller guilty. Effective immediately, she is stripped of custody and barred from contact with Lily and Noah. Full custody is granted to their father, Ethan Miller. The gavel fell like thunder. Claire erupted, her voice shrill. "This isn't fair. You'll regret this, Ethan. You'll—" Bailiffs rushed forward, escorting her out as she thrashed and screamed. But Ethan didn't even look at her. His eyes were on Lily and Noah, his entire world right there. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed, reporters shouted, but Ethan ignored them all. He crouched down to his daughter's level, pulling her and Noah close. "It's over, my loves. She can't hurt you anymore. You're safe now." Lily's small arms wrapped around his neck, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Daddy, are you staying this time?" Ethan's throat tightened. He kissed her forehead, holding both children fiercely. "I'm never leaving you again. That's my promise." Rosa wiped her eyes as she stood behind them, smiling through tears. That evening, back at the mansion, the house felt different. Warmer. Alive. Ethan sat in the garden, where Amelia once loved to sit, Lily curled against his side, Noah giggling in his lap. The setting sun bathed them in golden light. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "Amelia, if you're watching, I hope you see. I failed before, but never again. I'll protect them with everything I am." Lily looked up at him, smiling for the first time in weeks. "Daddy, Mommy would be proud." Tears glistened in Ethan's eyes. He kissed her hair and pulled his children even closer. For the first time in years, he didn't feel empty. He felt whole. Because true success wasn't in the towers he built or the money he earned. It was here, in the beating hearts of the children who now knew their father would never abandon them again. Family, if you believe no child should ever live in fear, raise your voice with us. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, because stories like this remind us justice may be delayed, but it will always come.